Whatculture.
We like to believe that we live in a world of certainties. Up is up, down is down, dogs and cats hate each other, you don't shower enough, and I'm finding it increasingly difficult to find the motivation to do anything, like literally anything. Should I call someone? If somebody gets killed, there is a reason found through autopsy and police investigation. Mysterious graffiti is usually nothing more than viral marketing for a new film coming out. UFOs or weather balloons or Christmas tree lights tied around a swan. Everything can be explained and everything has an answer. That's what we want to think, but sometimes that's not the case. I mean, it is. We live in a rational scientific world and the explanation is out there if it's not known. But anyway, I digress. Spooky mystery is apparently what we're running with here, so bear with me. I'm Ben from Whatculture, and here are the 10 craziest unsolved mysteries. Number 10. Toynbee tiles. Since the 80s, hundreds of plaques have appeared overnight, embedded in the asphalt of dozens of major US cities and a handful of South American capitals. They tend to be around the size and shape of a license plate, although some are bigger and all feature a variation on the message Toynbee idea in movie 2001 Resurrect Dead on planet Jupiter. What? The so-called Toynbee tiles have become a sort of legend since then, a modern urban myth that has been widely reported on in a regional, national, and even international press. The first documented sighting of a tile was in Baltimore in 1984, but since then they've been found everywhere from Kansas to Washington to Boston to Roswell, supposed home to alien-friendly Army Base Area 51. Is that relevant? Could be. Probably not, though. Number 9. The Tanganyika Laughter Epidemic. The story goes that a laughing epidemic began in a girls' boarding school in a village on the coast of Lake Victoria in Tanzania on the morning of the 30th of January 1962. 3 girls started giggling all of a sudden without provocation, and within a few hours they had 95 of the other 195 students going too, some of them laughing for hours and others cackling non-stop for over 2 weeks. The school was forced to close on the 18th of March, and sending those giggling girls home only made matters worse as it eventually spread to 14 schools and over 1,000 people. It could happen to you. It won't though, because it's stupid, but it could. But it won't though. Number 8. Beaumont children disappearance. The disappearance of the Beaumont children is a mystery that remains unsolved and looks as though it will forever stay that way. Jane, aged 9, Anna, aged 7, and Grant, aged 4, all disappeared from an Adelaide beach on the 26th of January 1966. A postman who knew the family saw the children walking home at 3 p.m, but that was the last anybody saw of them. Since then, there have been hoax letters sent from them. Witnesses have claimed to have seen 3 children playing with a tall blonde man, not me. Others claim to have seen a man taking 3 kids into a house. There have been multiple suspects over the years as to who could have abducted the 3 children, but police aren't even sure they were abducted. Nobody knows. I mean, someone does, but we don't, and neither do you. I assume. Do you know? Come forward. It's time. Number 7. The Mad Gasser of Mattoon. The Mad Gasser of Mattoon, also known by the equally colourful aliases of the Anesthetic Prowler, the Phantom Anaesthetist, or simply Peter Austin, was an individual or number of individuals purported to be behind a series of gas attacks on residents of Mattoon, Illinois and Roanoke, Virginia during the 30s and 40s. We use the word purportedly because not only was nobody ever caught, but it's debatable if the gassings happened at all. After numerous baseless reports, the police announced how many false alarms they received, and suddenly people stopped reporting attacks at all. It's possible that there was an actual guy going around and gassing people, but nobody knows for certain. Others posit that it was toxic waste or pollution seeping its way into people's homes, something that wasn't well understood at the time, leading instead to people, often woozy from the dose of gas they'd inhaled, to invent a story about an attacker instead. And obviously there are some people who reckon it was an alien, but it wasn't an alien. Number 6. Villisca axe murders. At some point between the evening of the 9th of June 1912 and early morning of the following day, a family and 2 house guests were bludgeoned to death in their rural Iowan home. All 8 victims, including 6 children, suffered severe head wounds from an axe, and the murderer is still on the loose. Well, probably not, they're likely dead too, but still, they got away with it. The killer, or killers, had methodically gone from room to room, killing each member of their household in their sleep with an axe, or axes. There have been numerous suspects, from a hobo passing through town to a travelling minister, but none were found guilty. The Villisca Axe Murder House, as it has been delightfully redubbed, has since been renovated and is now a tourist attraction. How respectful. Number 5. Numbers stations. You can find all sorts of weird things if you mess around on a shortwave radio in the right place. If you look beyond the terrible drum and bass pirate radio stations, you might come across what have come to be known as numbers stations. Obsessively catalogued and recorded, resulting in a 5-CD release that has been bought by conspiracy theorists and GCHQ alike, numbers stations are one of the eeriest and most unexplained phenomena in modern history. The stations themselves crop up all over the world, but usually follow similar patterns. Either a voice recording or speech synthesis software will recite a series of numbers. Sometimes those recitations will be broken up by a piece of classical music or a piercing beep, or simply fade away into static. And that's it. Just ghostly voices with messages nobody knows the meaning to. Are they a method of communication for spies? Are they used for illegal drug smuggling operations? Nobody's telling. Number 4. The Dog Suicide Bridge. Overtoun House looks nice, doesn't it? Look at that bridge too! Oh boy, what a lovely bridge. Apparently dogs keep jumping off it and killing themselves. Oh god, really? For f***'s sake. Turns out people have had some moments with the bridge too, like in 1994 when Kevin Moy threw his 2-week-old son off it, believing the boy to be the devil before trying to commit suicide himself. Utterly awful, but completely attributable to mental health issues. The dog suicides, as they're called, are a little more troubling. A few dogs tumbling off the side of a huge bridge 50 feet into the waterfalls would be an unfortunate coincidence. The actual number is a cause for concern. Since the 50s, dogs have taken the fatal plunge at the rate of about 1 a year, and nobody knows why. It's not exactly the safest bridge, with no safety railings beside the wall, but then if an enticing sound or smell rears its head, that could be just enough to get the dog to go for it. Number 3. Dyatlov Pass incident. The facts as we know them are thus. On the night of the 2nd of February 1959, 9 hikers in the northern mountains of Russia died. There was evidence that members of the group had torn their way out of their tents in a frenzy, trudged barefoot through the snow, freezing to death in temperatures as low as -30°C. There was no sign of a struggle in any of the bodies that were recovered, yet 2 victims had fractured skulls, 2 suffered broken ribs, and 1 was missing parts of her face. Why had they freaked out so much that they tore their way out of their camps? Why did they run so far from the camp, and why did they do it whilst half naked? Bear in mind, this was communist Russia at the time, and things get weirder. Parts of the investigation seemed suspect, elements of it covered up, like the fact that many of the group's belongings were found to carry traces of radiation. Had they fallen victim to a secret government weapons test of some sort? Was it an avalanche? Was it aliens? Who knows? It wasn't aliens, though. Number 2. The Tarman Should case. At 6:30 a.m. on the 1st of December 1948, a middle-aged man was found on the shores of Somerton Beach in Australia. Over 50 years later, and with some serious police investigation, we're still no closer to finding out who this poor unfortunate was. What makes this one all the stranger is the clues that were found about his person. The body had an unlit cigarette behind his left ear, a half-smoked ciggy stuck in the right collar of his coat, a used bus ticket, an unused second-class rail ticket, a comb, a half-empty packet of chewing gum, a box of matches, and most enigmatically, a scrap torn from a collection of Persian poetry featuring the phrase Tarman Should, which roughly translates as ended or finished. There were sightings of a man looking similar to the body on the days leading up to his death, but none of them helped in working out who he was or what happened to him. Even the discovery of a suitcase belonging to the man failed to produce any serious leads, and recent attempts at DNA testing, having exhumed the body, have come up with nothing. It seems the mystery man will remain ever so. Number 1. D.B. Cooper. On November the 24th, 1971, an unidentified man, referred to as D.B. Cooper in the press, hijacked an aircraft on a flight from Portland to Seattle. He demanded thousands of dollars in ransom lest he trigger the bomb he claimed to have in his luggage and bring the whole plane down. Along with the money, he requested 4 parachutes, 2 primary and 2 reserve, and a fuel truck standing by in Seattle to refuel the aircraft upon landing. Amazingly, he got everything he asked for. The plane landed in Seattle, he let the passengers go, and the craft was refueled after he was delivered his money and parachutes. They then took back off. The crew remember him as rather charming and polite, calm throughout the ordeal, and then, without warning, he dived out of the plane and into the night, and no trace was ever found of him, despite the FBI making him a top priority. Modern experts doubt he would have survived his risky skydive, but no body was ever recovered. Marked dollars of the sort his ransom takings were made up of have since been found, but led to nothing. The case remains the only unsolved air piracy in American aviation history. And that's our list. Make sure you subscribe to the Whatculture YouTube channel for more lists like this, and don't forget to visit whatculture.com for daily news and articles. I'm Ben from Whatculture, and thanks for watching.
Well done. Most people don't make it this far. They usually see point 3 and think, "Oh, what a pillock. I don't agree with that man." But if you want to disagree with people more, there are more disagreement videos here, and channels full of disagreement videos here. These are the specific people you can disagree with.